Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, we'll talk about the earthquakes that shook up the Phoenix area and points north last night. Also tonight, we'll hear about a new book that focuses on preventative health care. And we'll look at the proliferation of green homes in Scottsdale. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Arizona became earthquake country for a few hours last night as 3 quakes registering from 3.2 to 4.1 on the Richter scale made for an interesting evening. Here with more on last night's seismic activity is Tom Sharp from ASU School of Earth and Space Exploration. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for asking me.
So let's start with where these quakes were located.
So they were located just northeast of Black Canyon City, a little bit east of I-17, and making kind of a north-south line from Black Canyon City.
And how deep in the ground were these?
They're fairly shallow. The first one, the pre-quake, was quite shallow, about 3 kilometers, and the others were about 5 kilometers.
So the 3.2, we're looking at the map right here. The 3.2 was relatively shallow, or?
Yeah, that was the shallowest of them.
And does it matter how deep these things are in terms of how we feel them?
It does some, but it doesn't matter that much. In this case, it really wouldn't matter for us in the valley. They're all fairly shallow.
So these are fairly shallow as earthquakes go.
Yeah.
What parts of the valley and the state that you understand, what parts shook the most?
It would have shaken most in that area around Black Canyon City in the north part of the valley. People felt it all the way from north of Flagstaff to south of Casa Grande, so it was a large area where people observed
Interesting.
it.
More or less shaking if you live in a low-lying area?
If you live in a sedimentary basin type area, you tend to have more shaking than if you lived on bedrock. Now, most of us live in a great basin in the valley, and very few people actually live on bedrock. So it wouldn't have made much difference around the valley.
Okay, but so the lower elevations, I guess near rivers and things like that, you're going to feel it, right?
More than feel it, not necessarily more than the other areas in town.
But like places like it's Fountain Hills and hilly areas, more so, less so. What do you think?
Probably a bit less.
A bit less. Okay. As far as this area that we looked at, getting hit by an earthquake, how common? How uncommon? What are you looking at?
Earthquakes of this magnitude are pretty uncommon in Arizona. We get a few. It turns out we have a lot of very small earthquakes that we don't normally notice. So a few years ago, a program called EarthScope came through with lots of seismometers, and we were measuring all kinds of small-scale seismic activity in the state. So we know there are lots of little earthquakes on these faults, but not many large ones.
Was this a recognizable fault? They looked like they were kind of lined up in a row there.
No, there's no mapped active fault there, so it really isn't a fault that we know of. The nearest fault to there is the Horseshoe Fault, which is right along Horseshoe Reservoir and the Verde Valley, and a very similar pattern, north-south sort of fault, about 30 miles to the east.
Is this a kind of a situation, though, where now we know there is a fault there, or could this be a very, very old fault line that just recently decided to wake up?
It's probably, or it could be an older fault that we didn't recognize as active that has been reactivated. There are lots of old faults throughout the area.
And as far as I asked how uncommon it would be for this part of the state to get this kind of a magnitude 4.0, 4.1, how uncommon is that?
I don't really have the data on it, but we don't see much that's larger than that in Arizona. There have been a few of that magnitude.
So, and I think you kind of gave this away earlier, but I always wonder about these things. Were these earthquakes? Were these possibly foreshocks to something that will come? Were these aftershocks that something happened a while ago that we weren't even aware of? What do you think?
The interpretation is that first one was a foreshock, the largest one was the main shock, and the last one was an aftershock. And we've been getting aftershocks since then, but they've been too small to really notice and too small to locate with the seismometers that are out.
Do these kind of things usually come in bunches like this, 3 in a couple of hours?
They do. So when the fault ruptures, you have a main rupture event, but you also have smaller events around that rupture zone.
And so with that in mind, are we you say we're getting more all the time in terms of aftershocks, but should we expect anything in the 3s and 4s here
No, I don't
related
think so.
to this?
I doubt it. I think they'll just be trailing off.
And as far as having gone through the 1989 quake personally, there was a lot of these kinds of questions. It happened October 17th. It was a warm day in San Francisco. This one happens in early November. Is there such a thing as earthquake season? Is there such a thing as earthquake weather? Do high pressure systems, low pressure systems make any difference at all?
Not that we know of. If there was a difference, it'd be very insignificant.
So basically, if you're trying to predict earthquakes, good luck, fella.
No, the prediction comes from understanding the tectonic stresses in the crust and recognizing whether there's recent motion on faults. So what people will do is study these faults and look at their history, and you can excavate the faults and see what the earthquake history is, and from that predict what its likelihood of activity is.
But when the biggest is 4.1 and the aftershock is 4.0, and you don't really know where the fault is, there's not a heck of a lot more information to get there, is there?
No. And this one didn't rupture the surface, so it's not obvious that there's a fault that can be mapped from this one.
Did you feel the earthquake?
I did not. I slept through it.
You slept through it? Son of a gun. All right, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
6 million young people across the country are not in school and do not have a job. The situation is especially troubling here in Phoenix. That's why an initiative called 100,000 Opportunities was recently held at the Phoenix Convention Center. The event gave 2,000 local young people the chance to apply for jobs with about a dozen local and national companies. The movement is led by Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz.
This is not necessarily about the bottom line of Starbucks. Although, if you read the recent study, it will cost the American taxpayer about $100 billion a year for these 6 million youth to be not in school and not in work because of the ancillary issues that are societal. So this is both financial for the country, beneficial for every company that's here.
In April, Starbucks announced a partnership with ASU, offering free online tuition to all of Starbucks' 300,000 employees.
There wasn't any hidden agenda here, that this was two great institutions coming together to improve the lives of people who did not have access to education. We also found out in our own company that 70% of our own employees had been to school and didn't finish, did not have a college tuition, and the primary reason was college debt.
4,000 employees have enrolled in the program.
Get the inside scoop on what's happening at Arizona PBS. Become an 8 Insider. You'll receive weekly updates on the most anticipated upcoming programs and events. Get the 8 Insider delivered to your email inbox. Visit azpbs.org to sign up today.
A new book by ASU and Mayo Clinic health experts focuses on behavior to help fight type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and other chronic conditions. The book is titled A Roadmap to Better Health, and it emphasizes lifestyle choices, diet, and exercise. Dr. Dennis Cortese, director of ASU's Healthcare Delivery and Policy Program, and Robert Smoltz, CEO Emeritus of the Mayo Clinic, are among the book's co-authors. They join us now. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Roadmap to Better Health. What are we talking about here?
Well, this roadmap is to help people focus on one or two things that they can do to improve their health themselves. And the reason we undertook this book is that from the standpoint of health, we have to recognize that the healthcare delivery system has very little to do with health. And we're healthcare delivery system people.
Yes.
But it has very little to do with health. Health has much more to do with personal behaviors, genetic factors, social circumstances, as well as their financial situation too, and their education level.
Before we get too far down the road, define health.
It's what we're talking about is your well-being over your lifetime. And I got interested in this about 10 years ago. So here I am with Mayo Clinic on a panel, and somebody on the panel, we're talking about improving healthcare delivery. Somebody on the panel says, which person or which of these would do the most to improve our health over our lifetime? President of the United States, Congress of the United States, CEO of your insurance company, CEO of your hospital, or all of us individually? And of course his answer was all of us individually. The personal decisions we make, and we all know what they are. It's eating healthy, good exercise, moderation in many things is the secret.
And agree. I know that in your report, low physical activity, high calorie world, that's the challenge, isn't it?
It is, and when you look at the key, if we look at behaviors as having the major impact on overall health that a person can control, which it's about a 40 to 50% impact on health. When you look at the key elements within that behavioral environment, it's tobacco, it's weight, obesity, and physical activity. And of that group, the thing you can do the most control is physical activity. And it turns out, which is really good news, is that any degree of physical activity improves your overall health regardless of your other problems.
I was going to say, exercise is becoming increasingly thought of as a bit of a panacea, isn't it? I mean, it really works wonders.
Well, I don't think it's a panacea, but it definitely helps. And like we said, we wanted to get down, if there was one thing that we would recommend, where would we concentrate on? And we went with physical activity, which again to me is different than necessarily exercise. Physical
Explain.
activity is it's walking, going out, doing a variety of things. And it's amazing how many people get practically none anymore. Some people used to get it more in your work, but now we've got office jobs. And so the key is how can we build in nudges so people will actually get more physical activity. And just to give you an example of one, Dr. Cortese at his desk is basically a treadmill. Goes very slowly because he doesn't like to run too fast, you know. But at any rate,
Run too fast.
but you actually get physical activity, and it helps. Have stand-up meetings, get every half hour, stand up, move around, and it's amazing what it will do for us.
And yet we also hear that some of this high intensity, high interval training exercise, even for those of us who aren't, as young as we used to be, this makes a difference too.
The high intensity does?
Yes.
Oh yes, high intensity would do it, but the message we're trying to get across is that if everyone just focused on increasing activity, that's how we built down to this, and then also what can we do to help people focus on increasing their activity? And you can do that when you think about environmental nudges that we can do. We think about economic nudges that we can do to get people to be rewarded for doing some things. And at the educational level, exercise back in schools, absolutely needed.
Yes.
But we have employers such as ASU, and I heard just last week that the public libraries in Phoenix are going to be installing stand-up desks. Just standing up and reading gives you a little more activity.
All right, so we got exercise covered, and I believe in the report you say that physical activity absolves other sins. May not be a panacea, but that's pretty doggone close.
It's
All
right.
right, let's get over to diet. I don't think I'm alone in thinking that there's so much conflicting information about diet, what's good for you, what's not good for you, what we should eat, what you should eschew. What do we make of all this?
I think you're absolutely right, and that's why, as we have stated in the book, moderation is really, to me, is a big part of the key in this, especially with diet. The other thing is that we've found is that it doesn't make any difference so much which diet you're going to follow, but that you stick with the diet. And so being able to not just do it for a week or so or a month, but to stick with it.
Does that make sense to you? I mean, what if I'm on the so-and-so diet and the such and such diet would be much better for me. Should I stick with the so-and-so diet?
Yes, and actually there is no one diet that would be better for any particular person, unless you have diabetes or a condition that you have to watch what you eat. The real key is the physical activity and sticking with the diet. And this physical activity is the most important thing, because for people who have a BMI over 25, bone mass index, a body mass index, over 25 is when you're getting into the overweight category, over 30 is in the obese category. Even those groups of people, when they are exercising, and they've demonstrated that they're just walking 30 minutes a day on a continuous basis, their health improves. So even without losing the weight or changing anything else, just being active every day, treadmill desk, getting up, walking around, employers are learning this, they're actually doing it more. And in schools, it's very clear kids learn better when they're active in school.
And as far as a diet, what kind of nudge to action are you looking at as far as diet is concerned?
Well, as Denny said, we've got some financial ones that have actually worked, and I think work better than educational one. I'm giving you my own personal view.
Which ones do you think work better?
Well, here is one that Safeway has used in the past. So if you are overweight by a certain body mass index, you're going to pay more for your healthcare premium from Safeway. Then at the end of the year, if you have your weight back in normal limits, they rebate to you that amount that you paid extra. And guess what? I don't remember the percentage. We actually have it in the book. There's a reduction. And so that it's a bigger reduction in the people who are overweight, and they did this for other conditions. The percentage of people who are smoking, and smoking and weight were the toughest.
Yes.
But with blood pressure and cholesterol, that's where they had the biggest reductions in people who were at risk from a financial incentive. So there are not just educational incentives, there are financial and other non-financial ones that can occur too.
Well, and that sounds like the carrot. Let's get to the stick here. Things like sin taxes make sense to you?
Well, you can make a strong argument for it. The sin taxes have been discussed in the past, but let me give you one example. When it comes to sugary drinks, when you look at sugary drinks that you can buy in a store, every one of those has 11 grams of sugar in them per ounce. The difference is the size of the drinks have changed. They used to be quite small and they're bigger. It's the moderation part. It's not that you have to cut it out totally, but just being moderate in what you do. So people have suggested sin taxes, and there's no question that negative incentives do work also.
Yes, but
no question.
But people are still smoking out there. I mean, they've cut it down, but there's still a sizable number of folks who smoke.
Yes, but if you looked at the reduction, we have made progress. We aren't where we need to be. And my guess is we never will be exactly where we want to be, but there has been some significant progress. And the data show that to the extent that you increase that sin tax, you actually do get a further reduction in smoking.
I guess there's a tipping point to that, though, isn't there?
What do you mean
For
by
the
that?
sin tax. I mean, after you can only go to a certain extent.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Okay, last question before we let you out of here. What do you want this to accomplish? What do you want the book to accomplish? Did we report the study?
One, to let people know that it's in their control much more than anybody else realizes. This is not something the delivery system is going to fix. This has got to be the people being motivated to do it. And two, that the rest of the community should build a milieu that allows people to be more successful in moderation and in physical activity.
All right, gentlemen, great. Yes, please, go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to say, we're big on nudges, and we think that employers, cities, they're all have unique cultures, and they should come up with innovative ways to get nudges that'll work in their community or in their place of employment.
Interesting stuff. Good to have you both here. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Tonight's look at Arizona sustainability focuses on green homes in Scottsdale, where more than 1,300 residences have been certified green since 1998. Joining us now is Anthony Floyd of Scottsdale's Green Building Program. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We've had you on talking about these kinds of
yes.
things before, but now we're talking about Scottsdale's Green Building Program. What is that?
The Green Building Program is a set of standards, environmentally responsible standards for energy efficiency, better indoor environmental quality, for our health, low impact building materials, water efficiency, and essentially treading lightly on the earth to reduce our impacts in terms of long-term sustainability.
And we talked about 1,300 some odd residences in Scottsdale that are now considered green. What does a residence have to be considered green?
I'll make one slight distinction. There is a LEED rating system, and
Yes.
I know not too long ago you had a guest here talking about LEED, and that's a market-based program for achieving rating levels. Our program is a city-driven program. It's really based upon the Sonoran Desert, because we're not in California or the Northeast or the Southeast. We're actually in the desert, and so we want to use materials that are local, regional materials, and we want to be able to survive in our hot desert environment, to be able to have cool air conditioning and efficient use of resources to create a cool environment.
And again, whole systems approach, and through design, through building materials, everything from like living fences. What's a living fence? What are those things?
It's acatillo. It's actually it's quite traditional and common in Mexico, but it's taking the acatillo branches and wiring them together and burying them in the ground for about 6 inches, and they become alive again. They go dormant, but then when they get some rain, it's a live fence.
And you're also seeing home developers actually supplying vegetable gardens and these sorts of things? Talk to us about that.
Well, there's a new development that's in the planning phase, and it's an infill development along Shea Road, and they're proposing to have vegetable gardens for the community. It's a number of lots, and they're talking about also having a microgrid to perhaps go off the grid, collect water for rainwater harvesting, reuse gray water for irrigation. So yeah, there's a lot of things happening. And we're trying to make this a standard. So we're even working with the building codes to elevate, and we have a lecture this Thursday, and we're calling it Can Building Codes Become Green? And essentially we're trying to take all those green building principles that we've learned since '98 and incorporate it into a standard.
That's a sensitive dynamic, though, don't you think? It's one thing to encourage and cheerlead on. It's another to require.
Well, actually, the industry is taking a lead on this. It's
Really?
absolutely amazing. Yeah, so if you look at WaterSense fixtures, it's like the Energy Store of energy WaterSenses. If you go to any Home Depot or Lowe's, all the standard fixtures are WaterSense fixtures, meaning they're high efficiency. All the major manufacturers doing it already, and there's many examples of that.
I notice also there's an emphasis on universal design for aging in place.
Yes.
What does that mean?
That means that you accommodate your restrooms to the walls to accommodate reinforcement to hold grab bars. So you may not have the grab bars in there now, but you actually accommodate by putting the substrate and the structure and the walls so you can accommodate for that, and the spacing of the studs. So later you can put that in. Also allowing enough space in a restroom, in a bathroom, so you have a 5-foot turning diameter so you could turn a wheelchair around.
Yeah.
The height of your knobs and handles, all of those things. Just thinking about the width of your doorway, having a minimum of 32-inch clear through all your doors, bathroom, closet, everywhere. All of those things really are building in the infrastructure for aging in place.
And everything, I guess, from a more reflective roof material to cooler paving material, these sorts of things involved as well?
Yeah, that's right. And it's becoming standard now, and that's why we're really promoting this. Permeable paving, as well as emissivity, accounting for those characteristics. So it's not just reflectivity, it's emissivity, it's the ability of a material to emit heat so it doesn't hold and absorb it.
Last question. We think of Scottsdale. There's various areas of Scottsdale, but there's some pretty high-end areas as well. Are you seeing them out there, the DC ranches and out up north and east?
Oh, yes. We have some wonderful custom homes and great talented designers and local architects who have embraced this. And they're using it as a driving force for for a design aesthetic for a region
yeah.
and desert.
Well, the Scottsdale Green Building Pro, good luck to you. It sounds like you got things
thank
rolling
you.
out there.
Yes,
Thank you for
yes, we
joining
do.
us.
Okay, thank you very much.
And Tuesday on Arizona Horizon, learn about awards that honor efforts to support Arizona's court system, and we'll hear about pragmatic solutions to the extinction of species. That's at 5:30 and 10 on the next Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.